Here's Haugo, slips out of a few tackles, and Peter Haugo left for the races.
I'm doing up for the team.
Sheds the first defender, sheds the second defender.
Busted open. Jack Smith down the right sideline and into the end zone.
Welcome to Varsity Sports Live, the only show that goes a full hour and covers both North and South Dakota. I am David Brown, flying solo just for the time being. Jason Andera trying to make his way back through traffic from Howard Wood Field. A great game tonight between number 2 O'Gorman and number 1 Sioux Falls Lincoln. We're going to have plenty of highlights of that one coming up shortly, but we're going to have a bit of a role reversal for this episode. We're going to start with North Dakota stuff. So let's get a look at our North Dakota scoreboard. Top 5 matchup in AAA. Minot blanks Fargo Davies 26-0. Bismarck Century, they hung with number 1 Shanley, but in the end it's the Deacons 48-35. Final from Thursday, Bismarck over West Fargo 33-26. Mandan over St. Mary's 35-24. Congrats to Williston, their first win of the season, 33-15 over Bismarck Legacy. Cross-class matchup, AAA West Fargo Cheyenne over AA Grand Forks Red River 38-14. And the game of the night easily, Fargo North, Fargo South, a 1-2 battle comes down to the very end. But the number 1 Spartans prevail. 3 touchdowns for Peter Haugo. We're going to have plenty of highlights from Jody and Carson in just a moment. Valley City 14-13. They eke by West Fargo Horace. Number 3 Jamestown all over Wahpeton 47-6. Devils Lake an upset over Dickinson 0-4 over 4-0 27-7. In Class A, Dickinson Trinity 33-14 over Shiloh Christian. Kindred, the number 2 team, blanks Oaks 21-0. Central Cass also with a shutout, 43-0 over Hillsborough Central Valley. Harvey Wells County over Grafton, who does not play spoiler, 42-13. Bit of a rock fight, but New Rockford Cheyenne 8-6 over Nelson County. Alexander over Mohall LS, 40-34. Sargent County, no issue with Hankinson, 65-32. North Prairie 56-34 over Lemoore Litchville Marion. How about this? Number 1 New Salem Almont falls in overtime to Hettinger County 14-6. Big upset there in 9-man. And South Border 34-6 over Linton HMBSZ. So a lot of great action in North Dakota. And for some highlights from North Dakota, let's go up north to West Fargo. Jody Norstead, Carson Zarek, and boy, that Fargo North, Fargo South matchup, 1 versus 2. A lot of hype coming in. Definitely lived up to the hype tonight.
Yeah, and boy, Dave, you know how in scramble mode we are leading up to this show. I didn't even know about that 9-man score, New Salem Almont going down, until you just read it. So how about that shocker? Hettinger County pulling the monumental upset over the Holsteins tonight, 14-8 in overtime. I know a lot of teams had to deal with sloppy conditions. That plays a factor. But how about this? We're at the midway point of the season for these bigger schools, and we only have, after tonight, 3 games left in the regular season for a 9-man in Class A. So this is kind of moving and shaking time, right?
Yeah, it sure goes by fast. I mean, already at the halfway point, playoffs are quickly approaching.
Yeah.
You know, for those bubble teams, it's really time to, do or die is setting in right now.
Yeah, a couple big matchups. Shiloh and Trinity, we'll get to that one here in a bit. A couple of unbeatens in Class A, but a rivalry and a top 2 matchup in Class 2A. North against South. Battle line drawn. Second-ranked South trying to knock off top-ranked North. These two split a pair of meetings last year with North getting the dub in the playoffs. South gets a field goal to open the scoring, but North answers with a touchdown. Ethan Welk, a little boogie-woogie and a spinorama, and he gets into the end zone. 7-3 home team with under 5 minutes to play in the first. South adds another Keaton Dockin field goal, then follows it up with Dorian Sadness rumbling for a 9-yard score. Bruins up 13-7 midway through the second. That lead lasts all of 2 minutes because here comes Bison commit Peter Haugo on the toss, and it was the start of a big night for the homecoming king.
Yeah, Peter Haugo is the workhorse for Fargo North. He blazes the defense on one of his many touchdowns tonight.
60-yarder, his 12th of the year, makes it 14-13 Spartans. And then things get a little bit testy here. Boiling point here early in the third. Semenko, he was running hard all night. A lot of pushing and shoving here. Both teams get flags. Then on the very next play, Tyler Kozel is going to say, hey guys, everything's kind of crazy right now. Let's just go for the jugular. So how about this one? Brevin Work to Dwayne Mitchell, the fingertip catch, 57-yard score.
Came up at a big time for the Bruins. They really needed to put their stamp on the game in a nice long run there, or pass there.
But so much for that stamp, because Haugo, another house call. The first play after the kickoff. 65 yards. That knocks the game at 21-all. The Spartans were great up front all night. Joe Rose here is going to get a big tackle for a loss. South forced to punt, and that means, well, this guy gets the ball again. How about a hat trick for Haugo? He was running through massive holes.
Yeah, he was. Great job with the boys up front. You know, Haugo, if he sees that hole opens up, he's going to make you pay.
3 60-plus yard runs, 28-21 North. South gets the ball back. They march down, a chance to tie, but they fumble on the 2. Fortunately for them, North couldn't do anything with it. Bruins now with a chance. Down 7, facing a 4th and goal from the 11. A minute and 11 left. Brevin Work connects with Dwayne Mitchell for the touchdown on 4th and goal. They need 1 to tie and 2 to go ahead. Tyler Kozel's going to elect to go for 2 here, but North sniffs it out. Sam Friddle swats away the pop pass, and North hangs on for the dramatic homecoming win, 28-27 the final. I don't think either of these teams should hang their head, though. What a fight by South.
Yeah, this is exactly what we expected out of a 1 versus 2 matchup. The Bruins fought hard, but ultimately it was too much Peter Haugo for the Spartans tonight.
Afterwards, we caught up with Friddle, the one who had the swat, and Mr. Haugo.
Well, I was prepared. We were all prepared for anything, right? It was either run or pass, and we knew that. You just have to make the pre-read or pre-play read, and got to make the play. Oh, it was awesome. I knew it was a big game, and it felt great.
The coaching staff saw that they were shading over to my side, so they kind of just shifted the pull block in one, and they're bringing their safeties down and just hit it right up the middle a couple times, and they couldn't figure it out.
Adjustments, in-game adjustments made. South turns it over a couple times that were really key at the worst possible times. In North, now we get to call them next week, the number 1 team in the state against Red River.
Yeah, and that should be an exciting one. You know, we called North last year. They're an exciting team. We get to call them again this year. And I'm excited to see them go up against Red River, who, you know, they've hung in there this year. They have good playmakers. Yeah. And let's see if they can, really, go on top of that against North next week.
Yeah, we'll see them against Cheyenne tonight coming up in a little bit. Davies against Minot, top 5 showdown out in the Magic City. Magicians have been making opposing offenses disappear. 3 shutouts in 4 games so far. Pick it up in the second. Magi up 7-0. Lucas Peter to Griffin Broderick. And that one's another touchdown for the Bulldozer Broderick. 14-zip Minot. After defensive lineman DJ Jones gets the homecoming king crown at halftime. Beater over to Heston Fall, who's going to catch this one. Heston slows down a little bit, grabs the ball, and he's into the end zone. Makes it 20-0. Defense was perfect for the Magicians tonight. Davies quarterback Gage Brewer is going to have nowhere to go here. The homecoming king DJ Jones crashing down on him.
Yeah, DJ Jones, an electric playmaker on the defensive side of the ball, picks up a very nice sack.
And how about this? Another shutout. The Magi have only given up 12 points all season long. Let's go ahead and take a look at the scoreboard because another goose egg tonight against the Eagles, 26-0. They're 5-0. 4 of them have been shutouts. They play at Cheyenne next week in a game that a lot of people will be watching to really decide who that top team is to contend with the next team you're going to see here, number 1 Shanley. They were in Century tonight, rematch of last year's state championship game. First quarter, Shanley's quick strike offense connects Landon Meyer to Jordan Leininger. 2 touchdowns, 2 catches last week. Rips off another big one here.
Yeah, we saw a whole lot of that last week, and Jordan Leininger just continue to showcase his efforts this week.
So Century down 14-7. How about a bag of tricks here? Michael Twardowski pitches it to Drew Novlin, who goes to Rivers Martin for the score. Game tied at 14. Then third quarter, Patriots at it again. Gavin Lill, this time 47 yards. Century takes the 21-20 lead.
Yeah, and I love Gavin Lill. He's an electric ball player with breakaway speed, which torches the Shanley defense for 47 yards.
They're trying to end a 3-game losing streak, but no such luck tonight. That one coughed up by Landon Meyer, but Shanley recovers in the end zone. Look at that. Caden Chrisman eventually comes away with it. The Deacons sneak away with a victory. It was not easy on the road against the Patriots, but a 48-35 win. Shanley gets legacy next week. Well, 2 teams hoping to bounce back from tough losses last week, meeting in West Fargo. Red River ranked 5th in Class AA, taking on 3rd-ranked Cheyenne in AAA. Mustangs get on the board quickly. Caden Olson to brother Noah. Boy, what a grab by Noah.
Yeah, Noah goes up. He's a big-time 50-50 ball getter, and of course, he comes down with that one.
6-zip Cheyenne. Then Olson going to try Kobe Walter out. Try him out for size.
Kobe Walter not bad either. One of the very three good receivers that they have over there in Cheyenne.
And another big one, a 51-yard touchdown, 13-zip. Rough Riders not going away that easily, though. Pierce Parks, a former game ball winner, throws a strike of his own. Aiden Wadlow for the 10-yard score, makes it a one-touchdown game, 13-7. Cheyenne now up 19-7 here. Olsen hands it off to Tate. Hammer me Herman. Just runs into the back of the defender and in. 5-yard score. And then 26-7 now. Mid-third quarter, not to be outdone. Race Wilson joins in on the scoring fun. Barrels through for another touchdown. Cheyenne goes on to win this one, 38-14. Good recovery by the Mustangs, who get Minot next week.
Yeah, and that's going to be a big one, but nevertheless, great bounce-back win for Cheyenne to kind of get things back on track.
And again, Rough Riders on Midco Sports next Friday hosting North. No team has looked more improved this season than Bismarck High. From winless to 4 straight wins after they took care of West Fargo last night and some Thursday night lights. Packers struck first, though. Chase Jervestead runs it in for the touchdown. But if you've watched this show the last few weeks, you've seen a lot of Carter Henke. He was great again. Carson, what do you think about number 4's game?
Yeah, Carter Henke is just a physical runner. He's got speed, but he's really a downhill runner. That's going to hit you right in the mouth.
Bismarck goes up 7-6 on this touchdown run from Henke, bulldozing a defender at the goal line. Dylan Nichols was filling in for the injured Brady Medina at QB for the Pack, threw a pair of touchdowns, but he gets picked off here by Aiden Tincher, and it leads to another BHS score. Always tough when you have the backup quarterback in there, but Nichols, some high praise because he kept his team in this game all night. After West Fargo pulls within a point, Demons get a big kick return, sets up this. Jack Schaefer out leading the way, number 76, and then Henke doing the rest, finishing in the end zone. The Demons win it 33-26, their 4th straight win. Henke ends the night 160 yards, 4 touchdowns on 20 carries. Bismarck ran on 43 of their 49 offensive play. That kind of offense will play in late October and early November too, by the way. Let's go to Trinity against Shiloh, a top 5 matchup in Class A. Both teams unbeaten, kind of the de facto Region 4 championship with these two. Shiloh gets the scoring started first here. Isaac Emmel into the end zone. Skyhawks go up 7-0. And then Shiloh, how about a little bit of defense? Trinity's Jace Kovash throws it off the hands of Gage Glasser, and it's intercepted by Eli Thompson. We were tied at 7 at the half, and then Shiloh's going to go up 14-7. Carter Seifert to Eli Thompson. Boy, tough to catch in the rain.
Yeah, no kidding. They got the gloves off, which is a smart play in the rain, but nice reception there with the weather coming in play.
But Trinity has a lot of firepower, and it starts with this guy in the backfield, Ty Dassinger. Boy, defender's just slipping off him. And how does he tightrope the sidelines here? 65 yards.
Yeah, nice play. That guy is a stud. He's the guy that carries Trinity. You got to ride your guys, especially in weather like this.
Tied at 14. There's a look at Ty getting a little bit hydrated afterwards. Then it's Gage Glasser, another shifty runner. The change of pace that they can have between those two guys makes this team really deadly.
Yeah, a little bit of speed and power. Ty's he's a big guy. He's got muscles, and then, this guy knows how to run too.
You hear that, Ty? You got muscles, my man. How about this? The little tip drill off the interception. Blake Peters picks off Carter Seifert, and then Jace Kovash. I mean, it wasn't an easy night to throw the ball, but he gets this one to Jeremiah Gillick. 2-pointer fail, but Trinity goes up 26-14. The Titans get the win tonight, 33-14. A little bit of a slop fest between the two teams, but a good game nonetheless as the Titans move to 6-0. Let's hear from them after the win. Oh, actually, we'll skip ahead. The de facto are Kindred and Oaks over Region 1, perhaps the final hurdle for undefeated and second-ranked Kindred to get over in their quest for the Region 1 crown, visiting that Oaks squad. Vikings start with the ball. Jake Starcevic to Isaac Spellhog, gets tackled in the baseball dirt for a first down. 9 minutes into the opening drive, 4th and 15 in the red zone. Jack McDonald to Carter Patasic to force a turnover on downs. Later in the first, Blason Dolney going to manage to get it to Trey Skoglin here. There goes Trey. Rumbling, and he's somehow going to get past the first down marker. That drive would stall as Max Wallach punts it away, but McDonald muffs it. Kindred is able to somehow get back on the football, and then they finish this drive with a score. Jake Starcevic would have a 1-yard QB sneak in the second quarter to make it 7-0. At halftime, it was 7-0 Kindred. The Vikings get the shutout on the road, 21-0 to stay unbeaten at 5-0. That's huge for the Vikings as they continue to pile up wins.
Yeah, as the number 2 team to pitch another shutout here for the Vikings, they're really going to need that defense to continue to step up as they go on.
Harvey Wells County has been winning games with grit the last 3 weeks. A win tonight in Grafton would set up a huge region matchup with Carrington next week. First quarter, remember, it was homecoming week for the Spoilers. They wasted no time getting on the board. Cruiser Burns returns the opening kickoff for a score. Watch him zigzag through the kickoff team for the Hornets.
Yeah, had to go down to one knee to receive the kickoff, but nevertheless is able to take it to the house and get the Spoilers on the board early.
And it's always something when you can do that on homecoming, get everyone amped up. That's always pretty fun. The only bad part was the Hornets kind of dominated the rest of the way. Cale Sieg caps off a nice drive here with a touchdown. We're all tied up at 7. And then Spoilers get their first offensive possession. This was an afternoon game. That's why it looks so light out. Quarterback Kyle Drews picked off by Cale Sieg and nearly returned for a touchdown by Sieg, who already had a touchdown in the game. After the interception, Hornets find the end zone again. Keaton Keller making the touchdown catch.
Yeah, and Keller gets on the board, but hey, Sieg had his paws all over this game.
Later in the second quarter, Hornets with a nice drive again. It's capped off by the man that you just talked about. He's got a little shiftiness to him, doesn't he?
Yeah, he sure does. Offense, defense, it doesn't matter. He's an X factor for that Hornets team.
Cale Sieg with a big night. Hornets with a big win, 42-13 on the road. They improved to 5-1, again setting up a big matchup with Carrington next week. New Rockford Cheyenne Maddock on the field for the first time since knocking off #1 North Prairie behind Easton Simon's game ball performance. Rockets hoping to move to 5-0, visiting a really good Nelson County team. Opening drive, Connor Nattery with the carry for the big gain. He's going to get tackled down by a horse collar, so tack on a few more yards. Later on the drive, Carter Engerbretson going to plunge in for the short yardage touchdown, puts the Rockets up 8-0. You see it's just starting to get soaking wet out there for poor videographer, poor spectators. Continue on the first, Nelson County trying to answer. Chargers give it to Christian Fauner and rips off a big run, but the drive would not result in any points. So same score early second. Chargers with it again, this time Fauner. Tough to hold on to the ball when sloppy conditions play into it.
Yeah, the rain was pouring down out there tonight. Very low scoring game and tough to hold on to the ball.
And then lightning crept in. They had a long lightning delay. To be honest, I don't even know if this game got any more after that, but New Rockford Cheyenne gets in the win column with an 8-6 victory here. So the Rockets continue to stay unbeaten. A couple of one-loss teams that I still feel could win a state title squaring off in a non-region matchup as North Prairie made the 3.5-hour trip south to play Lemoore, Litchfield, Marion. First regular season meeting between these two. Pick it up second. Lobos trailing. Gunnar Thiel just throws it up to Max Muslin. Touchdown. Makes it 20-12. North Prairie at halftime. The third. The Cougars waste no time. Helvin DeYoung punches it in from 5 yards out. Make it 28-12 North Prairie. Next drive. Thielges to Muslin again. The chemistry clicking for these two.
Yeah, Muslin is a very, very good reception receiver and showing off the leather, except no leather. He's also not wearing gloves tonight.
A few plays later, Thielges decides I'll just keep it on my own. This is a guy that's been on the top performer list virtually every week. 31-yard run for Thielges, but it comes in a losing effort. North Prairie makes that bus trip worth it. A 56-34 win for the Cougars. 5-1. Remember, they were ranked #1 a couple of weeks ago. Got surprised by New Rockford Cheyenne in overtime, but they are fighting their way back into it. Well, 3 years ago, Alexander finished 1-5 as a 6-man team. Tonight, looking for a 6-0 record in 9-man. Wouldn't be easy against 4-1 Mulhall, Lansford, Sherwood. You pick it up, 8 minutes left in the first. Alexander's logo looking like Alabama. So does their defense. They get the big tackle and force a fumble. Moments later, Comets Bo Ryder airs it out to Zane Soyseth, catches it for the touchdown, but it's called back for a holding. So what do? Alexander draws up basically the same play. Give it back to, this time, Ryan Pingle, who evades Mavericks defenders and takes it in for 6. MLS fans didn't like that, but they'll love this. Johnson going to connect with fellow sophomore Reed Morlock, who gets just enough space between him and the defender. Check out this play.
Yeah, this is my kind of game. Coming from a former quarterback, let those boys air it out. I love to see it.
And can you hear the car horns in the background? Oh, the Class B country, baby. But Alexander returns a favor. Little Wildcat offense. Max Heen takes it directly, and he dodges defenders, takes it in for 6. This one would go back and forth all night, but it is Alexander who wins by a touchdown in Mulhall, 40-34. So look at those Comets, looking like an Alabama-type team with that record, 6-0 now, and they were 6-man again just 3 years ago, and they were 1-5 in six-man. So they move up. They've challenged themselves, and boy, they have been playing some really good football so far. That's a big win for that community.
Yeah, big win. Coming from six-man, up into nine-man like that, and going 6-0 in your first year is very impressive.
And they kind of needed to prove it a little bit against a good team, and they do that tonight against Mulhall, Lansford, Sherwood. Well, we will step aside for right now, and we'll be back with South Dakota highlights. David Brown, we'll see if Jason Andera made it back to the studio. That's coming up next.
Varsity Sports Live, presented by Farmers Union Insurance. Simply different. Varsity Sports Live, presented by South Dakota State University. Build a better future with South Dakota State University.
Welcome back, and guess who's back? Jandy made it home.
Any
that
doubts?
treacherous drive from Howard Wood to the Midco studios.
You know what? I got a police escort, and it really paid off. That's the first time I've ever had one of those. But no, I didn't. But it was tremendous that we started the games early at Howard Wood. We had a running clock in the first game, and it still took till almost 10:30 to get the doubleheader in. Two games that had a lot of scoring.
Absolutely. And speaking of scoring, let's get a look at some scores from around South Dakota. The games that we did at Howard Wood Field, you just came back from #1 Sioux Falls Lincoln, 58-35. Boy, the Patriots look awfully impressive. We'll get to them in a moment. 63-0 Sioux Falls Jefferson blanks Mitchell. Harrisburg over Sioux Falls Roosevelt, 48-13. Brandon Valley is out west, and they'll play Rapid City Stevens on Saturday. Washington, bit of trouble with Rapid City Central, but the Warriors get the win 37-20. Big matchups in AA. Pierre over Watertown in the 1-4 matchup, 49-20. And then how about Yankton coming to T, 37-26 in a 2-3 matchup. We'll have highlights of that one coming up. Spearfish over Belle-Fourche, 40-7.
Spearfish is 4-1, by the way.
Absolutely. A solid number 5 in AA. Aberdeen Central over Huron, 30-6. Brookings, congrats to them. They get their first win of the season, 37-0 over Douglas. In 11A, Del Rapids, no issue with Millbank, 63-8. West Central and Canton, another great 2-3 matchup coming down to the wire, 30-28.
Two very evenly matched teams that like to do the same type of thing. And boy, that lived up to the bill. I can't wait to see highlights of that one.
Sioux Falls Christian has now won 3 in a row, 35-7 over Chamberlain is the final there. Lennox, 42-14 over Beersford.
That was close for a long time. Beersford put up a great effort, but Orioles just too much.
In 11B, Sioux Valley, 34-14 over McCook Central Montrose. And our favorite, the Co-op Bowl, Trip Delmont Armor, Andy Central Dakota Christian. They fall to Woonsocket, Westington Springs, Sanborn Central. The Blackhawks over the Nighthawks.
You've been practicing, obviously.
I have been.
But the Nighthawks, Blackhawks, this is a rivalry that I hope continues a long time. But hey, Woonsocket, Westington Springs, Sanborn Central, undefeated on the year. I might give them a look at a vote in 11B this week.
Ooh, a little preview for Football Insiders next week, possibly. And then in 9-man, Canastota, #1 in 9A. They fall to 9AA Hanson. We're going to have highlights of this one, but Canastota loses its first contest of the year. And then in a game that was marred by lightning delays, Warner, #2 in 9A over the #1 in 9B, Faulkton area, 27-20.
We were scared that there would be a lot of lightning delays across South Dakota. A lot of games moved up to that 5 o'clock time period instead of 7 o'clock. But that was the only one that I heard of that really had a lightning delay on the night.
I believe there was one in Aberdeen Central Huron as well, but
up north,
only a couple of them. And thankfully we got most, if not all, of our games in. But the game that everyone was looking forward to, you were on the call with it with Curtis Riggs. Let's get to the highlights. #2 O'Gorman, #1 Sioux Falls Lincoln. This was close in the first half, Jandy.
Yeah, first half, Henry Theobald caps off a 7+ minute drive, but Lincoln comes right back and scores. There's Isaac Jarofsky catching one close, and then Draven Hodge, big night for him.
Absolutely. Again, this was close throughout the first half. They get a chip there on the punt, and then they're going to return it into O'Gorman territory. And, I mean, Lincoln, just everything clicking on offense.
Well, that was the difference, I think, in the first half, because they kind of traded scores back and forth, but that punt block and that set up in great field position really gave the advantage to Lincoln. But this was a close game throughout. This is tied at this point. Dawson Bauer, actually the Dawson Bauer catch right there ties it up. And then in the second half, this is where the trouble started. The field position game belonged to Lincoln. They came out with a Draven Hodge 80-yard run to start things. They stuffed it up right there, got into the O'Gorman side of the field all night long. And even though Maverick Jones, you see him score right there, it was all Lincoln. And then some acrobatic catches tonight from Jack Smith. This guy had 4 touchdown receptions. There's number 3, I believe. And his 4th one is actually the best one. I'm not sure if that made the highlights or not. But the defense played well. Maverick Jones, he had a tremendous night, going over 100 yards receiving and over 100 yards rushing. Yeah, here's the Jack Smith one that he's like, excuse me, sir, get out of my way.
Get out of my way.
I'm going to the end zone and diving for the pylon. But it got crazy at the end as Lincoln in the third quarter went 4 for 4 on their possessions with touchdowns and pulled away and just took this game under control.
We knew O'Gorman would have the weaponry to potentially match Lincoln on offense, but the question was about the defense, and Lincoln responds with their highest scoring output of the season.
They did. The defense, obviously, they're going up against some great stars in O'Gorman with Jones, with Bauer, with Gross, with Satter, with Theobald, but just not enough answers on the other side of the field for O'Gorman to stop Lincoln. Tate Schaefer was awesome. 291 yards for him passing.
58-35 is your final. Lincoln over O'Gorman in the 1-2 matchup. Jefferson and Mitchell, this started our doubleheader action, and a bit of a blocked punt to start. Ethan Swenson to Davion Simonson. That made it 7-0, and then defense and special teams would take over. Dawson Sexer. This is the first punt return touchdown.
First.
Thomas Heiberger, when he's your lead blocker, you can see Sexer, you guys are like, okay, I'm getting into the
I'm following number 9, and I'm going to do it again, folks.
This is a 90-yard return. Eluding tackles, 1, 2, 3, 4. Gets into the open field. Second punt return touchdown of the first quarter. It is 21-0 Jefferson on homecoming. And they would essentially roll from there. Mitchell tried to get something going. Austin Brummels hiding on the route, gets the pick 6. This was the first, by the way, of 3 straight defensive touchdowns from Sioux Falls Jefferson. Here's the second. Rylan Amon picks up the fumble, gets the score. And then on the very next Mitchell pass, Sexer, third touchdown. It's like the ball was intended for him. So because of the 3 straight touchdowns, Jefferson's offense was barely on the field. Simonson scores just before half. Manny Schmaus is going to get a touchdown here. It was 56-0 at halftime. And the Jefferson offense was on the field in the first half for less than 5 minutes. And they had a 56-0 lead. Just an all-around dominant performance in all 3 phases.
I heard you and Curtis talk about this during the broadcast as well, but Sioux Falls Jefferson needed this little reprise where they got Rapid City Central last week, Mitchell this week, and now they've really got to get back to business going against O'Gorman next week.
Yeah, after the 48-0 loss to Lincoln, 2 back-to-back shutout victories for the Cavs, 41-0 over Rapid City Central, 63-0 over Mitchell. And as you mentioned, a big matchup with O'Gorman next week for Sioux Falls Jefferson. Roosevelt made the short trip to Harrisburg tonight, and the Tigers would strike first. Sam Knuth, Titan Tryon.
This is a combination that is going to set some records this year. Titan Tryon had a huge junior year, and he's matching that in his senior season.
Riders looking to respond. Jackson Brower to Tayden Nave. Brower, by the way, in there. Jackson Gravengood out again with an injury. 40-yard pickup there. Unfortunately, it led to a blocked field goal for the Rough Riders. Second quarter, Harrisburg up 7, and if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Knuth to Tryon.
This guy is such a strong receiver and has a great set of hands, and he runs great routes. Sam Knuth finds it.
Brower to Nave again. This one goes for 35 yards, and this time the Riders would actually finish off the drive. Talon Steve is going to get the plunge here, and it's 14-7. Roosevelt hanging in there despite being undermanned once again.
I'll tell you what, this Roosevelt team has some stars. They just don't have enough to keep up with a team like Harrisburg.
And any momentum the Rough Riders would have is squashed right here. Braden Fieldy, house call on the ensuing kickoff, 21-7 Harrisburg.
I got the crowd going over there in Harrisburg, and they've got tons of players that can make big plays. Even a guy like Braden Fiedley came in and made it happen.
And things only got worse for the Riders from there. Max Elrod recovers the fumbled snap. Tigers once again back in business. And it sets up Mr. Levi Danielson, 25 yards to the house.
And they're always looking for big plays in the running game. That's one part the Tigers need to keep improving. They saw some improvement tonight with Danielson.
48-13 is your final. Harrisburg moves above 500 at 3-2, and we heard from the victorious Tigers afterwards.
We had to win this one to get right back on track to where we want to be. And so that's what we came out to do. First half started out a little shakily, and then second half we got a couple turnovers, huge trust in our defense, and we got playmakers all over on offense. So we're just ready to go out there and make some plays for our offense, put some points on the board.
Today, but again, Roosevelt with Gravengood out. They've been undermanned kind of all season long. Tough to gauge them, but the Tigers, this is exactly what they needed.
Yeah, and Max Carlson right there, one of the key components to this Tigers offense. He and Triton Tryon and Sam Knuth, we know they can get the job done. Levi Danielson came up big tonight. And defensively, I really think they're improving. That's another area where coming into the season we weren't sure what we were going to get with the Tigers. Well, I think they're getting better, and that's on the right track.
48-13 is your final. On to 11 AA action. Watertown and Pierre. Short weather delay at the start, but the rain and lightning stayed away after. Cade Kaiser to Jet Zabel. This is after Pierre onside kick to start the game. 7-0 Governors. Not that these young fans were really paying much attention, but Watertown, they had Kaiser on the run early. Give the defense some credit. Caden Decker with some heavy pressure. But in the second, Kaiser with time once again to the Jet for 6.
Yeah, Jet Zabel has got another guy with great hands. He comes in and runs these direct snaps as well sometimes. What a versatile weapon to have in the offense.
21-0 after that touchdown midway through the second quarter for Pierre. Watertown, they get it going. Juven Hudson, you've heard his name all season long, did some stuff here, weaving his way through defenders. And then goal-to-go situation, Hudson gets the 6-yard touchdown.
He's been over 100 yards every game. I didn't see the final stats on this one, whether he got there or not, but give a lot of credit to the guys up front. A really good offensive line.
Govs get it with 2 minutes to go in the first half. Doesn't even take him a minute to score. Kaiser once again on the QB keeper. 28-6, Pierre at the break. They would go on to win this one 49-20. So give Watertown credit. They made Pierre battle for it, but in the end, the #1 Governors show why they're #1. We see improvement from Watertown, maybe just not quite there yet.
Yeah, they have got a lot of juniors that contribute on this team. You know, I'm not giving up on this season yet, but this is a team that's heading in the right direction.
There was another top 5 showdown just south of Sioux Falls. #3 T area hosting #2 Yankton. First quarter, Bucks on the move. Evan Sirk scampering through the defense. Touchdown makes it 7-0 Yankton. They strike first, and the Bucks would add to their lead on the last play of the first quarter. You've talked about him all season long. Lucas Campshaw calls his own number. 14-0 Bucks after one.
He's such a strong runner, great athlete all over, and he really proved it tonight. He might be one of the best players in the class.
Yankton actually led 31-6 at the break. T would try and mount a comeback early in the third. Jessen weaving up punches it in. It's now 37-20. In the fourth, same score. Brenner Conrad loads it up. Tyler Reed coming on down. 56 yards into the end zone. That made it 37-26. The time would just run out on the Titans as the final score is by that 37-26 marker. Yankton, a big road win. They hung with Pierre last week. They get a big road win against T this week.
I like the fact, though, that T didn't give up. They worked hard in this game, but it was Lucas Campshaw, 15-25, 181 yards, and a touchdown. And he also ran in a touchdown that was the star, and we caught up with him after the game.
We're a very resilient team. We can bounce back from almost anything. Had a lot of injuries tonight, and we just bounced back, and we got the win.
Well, we're getting closer. We're not there. Definitely not a finished product. We took a step in the right direction. Our guys handled adversity tonight. It was a team win. I'm really proud of them. They really battled tonight. Just a fun win. We got to get more physical, but we got to be ready for next week and get back to work tomorrow.
So Brady Muth called it a fun game, but they still need to get more physical. He's still challenging his team to play up another level.
And that's the thing I've noticed when I've watched Yankton is, you know, they make a lot of big plays in the passing game, a lot of big plays defensively where they got big takeaways, but you win football games in the trenches, and they're good there. They have an opportunity to be on par with a team like Pierre if they can improve there a little bit more.
Again, that Pierre game last week, Pierre won 27-14, but Yankton was leading that game throughout. It was a tie game in the fourth quarter. The Bucks will certainly be dangerous down the stretch. That was a 2-3 matchup in 11 AA. How about a 2-3 matchup in A?
A lot of great matchups tonight.
Yeah, West Central at Canton. Trojans recover a Canton muff punt, and they're in business. Chase Alston, the Trevin Price for the early score, 6-0 West Central. But back comes Canton midway through the second quarter. We call this the Hurricane backfield. This is Kanan McCracken.
He's cracking through that line, that's for sure. And love the all-yellow unis, by the way.
Absolutely. Game tied at 6. Still in the second. Canton on the move again, and the big man. No, the literal big man. Check out this offensive lineman. Trown Cook gets the handoff, breaks through the hole, long run up the middle. Rumble, young man, rumble.
He wants to be part of that Hurricane backfield.
The second part of the Hurricane backfield, Kane Waldner would finish it off, though.
Kane Waldner had a big night. He had a big 2-point conversion, too, that we didn't see in the highlights here. He is a tremendous athlete.
Canton led 14-6 at halftime, but third quarter, West Central deep in the Canton territory. Chet Sarda scampers in for 6. They convert the 2. We're tied at 14. Back and forth we go. Trojans driving again. This time, faking our camera guy out. Austin Bramley, he wrote this shot sheet, and he calls out his own fake out.
Way to go, Austin.
But Jude Jarding finds a crease in the end zone for 6. Now 22-20 West Central. They get a little breathing room. Sarda again. Canton not going away, though. Braxton Mulder deep down the sideline to Keyshawn Smith. Long touchdown. That would get him within 2. But West Central adds a late safety, and they eat this one out 32-28.
Now, don't call us out. I think we called for a low-scoring game. We didn't see anything like that pass by Mulder. We didn't have that up our sleeve. A little bit of a surprise. It's getting, 60 points on the board in this game.
32-28 your final. West Central, another big road win for the Trojans. In 11B, number 2 Sioux Valley on the road taking on McCook Central Montrose. First quarter, Bowden Schiller. Things always seem to bode well for him, Jandy.
Oh, this guy, boded well, all right. He rushed for 121 yards on the night, threw for maybe 50 or more. I didn't see the stats on that, but he is definitely a run first. And this guy, Donovan Rose, another 100-yard back, 179.
He gets the touchdown, 14-0 Sioux Valley. Will you accept this, Rose? Of course you will. Donovan, again, dominating. Another big gain on the ground. Sets up another Schiller score. You know, Lawrence and Schiller's the ad agency here. How about Rose and Schiller can compete for their own marketing?
Okay.
Marketing themselves.
Nice try, Dave. Nice try.
Sioux Valley still marketing themselves as the number 2 team in 11B, 34-14 over McCook Central Montrose. Another big win for the Cossacks, who remain undefeated.
Yeah, and Winter didn't play. Sioux Valley gets a good win, a 20-point win. They didn't start out great in this game, but they showed they can run the ball with 2 different 100-yard rushers.
34-14 is your final. On to Canastota. Number 1 in 9A, the Hawks played host to 2-2 Hanson from 9AA. Home team right to work. Tay Jortman, Brady Scott, first of 2 Hawk touchdowns that staked him to an early 14-0 lead. But back come the Beavers on the road. Admire the power of Brock Tuttle, Jandy.
Yeah, this guy, he had so much competition the last couple of years to run the ball. This year, he is the main guy, and boy, did he come through tonight.
He had 2 straight touchdowns. We're tied at 14. Final minute of the half. Jay Slavina, Hayden Schroeder. Hanson with its first lead, 22-14. Canastota, they answer on the final play of the first half. Ortman the Scott again, 2-pointer no good. Beavers lead 22-20 at the break. Hanson adds to that lead in the third. Tuttle, again, he's a big guy, but he's got some nifty moves, Jim.
Yeah, only 17 carries. I mean, it feels like they could have given this guy the ball 35 times, and he would keep doing this. But look at that. He is nimble.
30-yard touchdown makes it a 10-point game, 30-20. Hawks not going down without a fight, though. Ortman does it himself. 3-yard score. They would add the 2. That makes it 30-28 early in the fourth quarter. But the nail in the coffin comes from Mr. 4 touchdowns, Brock Tuttle.
And it's Tuttle, 4 touchdowns on the night. Direct snap to the big man. And he can block, he can tackle, but boy, he was running the ball effectively tonight. 17 carries, 131 yards, 4 touchdowns, and their quarterback, Jay Slaba, he was good when he needed to be. 7 of 8, 72 yards and a touchdown as well. Big win for these Hanson Beavers against 9A's number 1 team. And after the game, we caught up with Brock Tuttle.
The 2 losses we had in the year came to some pretty good football teams, and one of the teams that we lost to they had beat, so we knew it was going to be a tough physical game. We knew they were a really good team. We just thought we'd come here and give it our all, see what happens, and that's exactly what we did, every person on the team. I think it shows the rest of the team and the guys that we're able to play with. Canastota, they're a great football team. We're able to play with any team that we're going to match up against, so I think it really gives them confidence.
And definitely a confidence booster for Hanson. And remember, the Canastota, even though they're in 9A, they had beaten multiple top 5 9AA teams this season.
Right.
Hanson not even in the top 5 currently, but a big win for the Beavers.
Yeah, a big switch because they both played Howard. Hanson lost to Howard early in the year. Canastota beat Howard. And, Hanson right now, they're going in the right direction. They lost to Parkston and they lost to Howard, but now they feel like this is a really quality win that puts them as a really dangerous team. And we saw Parkston do this last year. They lost a couple games and found their way to the Dome in 9AA. I mean, it's not out of the realm to see a team like Hanson do the same thing.
Absolutely not. There's a lot of great teams, a lot of good depth in 9AA, and Hanson proved it once again. Another great cross-class matchup between Faulkton and Warner. 9B number 1 Faulkton, 9A number 2 Warner. Hunter Kramer. Watch this punt return, Jandy.
This guy does everything.
Absolutely everything.
I think it's an 80-yard return for the Midco Sports Player of the Year, reigning Player of the Year in 9A.
Later, Kramer getting it done with his arm, and this is an absolute strike to Josiah Baum.
Yeah.
14-0 early. Faulkton defense coming up big here, though. The pass is tipped and picked off by Jean DeMaria, and he returns it deep into Monarch territory, and that would eventually lead to this. Lane Cotton, quarterback for Faulkton. A couple of nifty moves on his way to the end zone. This game had a lightning delay, but it would not be enough for Faulkton. This was a 20-20 game in the fourth, but Warner scores late. 27-20 is your final. The number 2 team in 9A over the number 1 team in 9B. Just a great game.
And this was, the second half was definitely a field position game, and Faulkton just proved that they can play with some of the best teams. That's bad news for the rest of 9B. Even though they lost that game, I feel like they're that much better than the rest of the class. Maybe DeSmet will have something to say about that.
We shall certainly see when it comes down the stretch. When we come back, we got a little zone coverage for you. A lot of great games, a lot of spectacular finishes in both North and South Dakota tonight. We'll recap it all when we come back to Varsity Sports Live on Midco Sports.
Varsity Sports Live, presented by Farmers Union Insurance. Simply different.
Welcome back. A little bit of North Dakota flavor here to start zone coverage. Carson Zark, Jody Norstead with you. And we missed one of these games highlights. Wanted to make sure that we get to them, though. In Class 2A, Horace taking on Valley City. Remember the Hawks, 2 straight wins going into Highliner country, trying to derail this good team, 3-1 Highliners. Hawks trailing 14-7, 2:30 to play. Third and goal from the 7, Taylor Stefanowicz to Taylor Johnson for the touchdown. So they need the extra point now to tie the game. But on the attempt, the snap is low, and that allows the Highliners to get a mid on it. I believe it was Derek Shape coming off the edge. That was with 2:01 left. Horace does get another crack after a 3-and-out by Valley City. But with 2 seconds left, Stefanowicz has his pass deflected, and that does it. The Highliners bounce back from last week's loss by snapping Horace's 2-game win streak by a final of 14-13. Bryson Heck had a touchdown pass, while Caden Amon had a rushing touchdown for the Highliners in the win. A couple other notables. 4 Winds gets a win tonight over St. John. Lisbon, the Broncos get a big victory tonight as well over Carrington 32-27. And how about Williston? That's why we have the Williston helmet out here. Their first win of the season, 33-15 over Legacy. But one of the matchups you saw, we led off with it. North getting the big victory over South. One of the games of the year. The way it went back and forth and back and forth. We caught up with Adam Rowland afterward, who pretty much said as much.
You know, I've played in and coached a lot of football games, and you can't really beat a rivalry game where it goes down to the wire. You have both teams seeming like they're trying to give the game to the other team, and then having a big play on their attempted 2-point conversion. You know, after they had decided they were going to go for 1, we get a penalty. They decide they're going to go for 2. You know, Sam Friddle makes a big play, and it's one of those things where I'm just super proud of the guys. And we told the guys at the end of the game that was a good team that we played, a very good team that we played. It could have gone either way, but you know, good teams find a way to win, and there's no such thing as a bad win. Win's a win.
Now, Carson, these two teams met twice last year, once in the state semifinals. North was able to get the better of South there. They get the win in this one. Did we just see a Dakota Bowl preview? I mean, I know Jamestown, Red River, they'll put up a stink about it, but are those the 2 best teams in your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, right now they're 1 versus 2 for a reason. So I think this is a matchup that we're definitely going to see as the playoffs pursue. But I mean, on homecoming, Fargo North, the number 1 ranked seed in AA, South, the number 2 team in AA, to be able to get a win on your home field on homecoming has to feel good for Fargo North, and really a confidence booster for the Spartans to prove that they can really hang with anyone and beat anyone in that division.
Yeah, and it's a veteran North team and a for that matter, a very veteran South team as well, and a lot of respect afterwards between both those teams. They laid it out on the field tonight, and it was a treat to watch. One of the best North Dakota high school football games I've ever seen in person, I'll say that. Dickinson Trinity and Shiloh Christian, that was a top 5 matchup. A lot of emotion in that one in the Class A ranks, kind of the de facto region championship. It was raining, it was soaking out there. Trinity comes away with a 33-14 win. A lot of it, their damage done in the second half after Shiloh Christian got off to a good start. Then things started to click a little bit for the Titans, and they have so many weapons on that offense, but when they needed the ground game, they got it from Ty Dossinger, and John Otterman and Ty joined us afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, offensively, I think we just got an attitude in the second half that said, "Hey, you guys are going to have to stop us," and they didn't. And so our offensive line did a great job. But then, Ty Dossinger hitting the edge on a number of occasions and just running the daylight. It was just really fun to watch.
Yeah, we had the mindset we're gonna keep fighting, and I'm really proud of our guys up front. They were blocking, making big holes for me, and even on the backside, they were fighting hard, so that cutback was there, and I could beat them outside and get into the end zone. So I'm really happy with my line up front.
I think that is a Titans team that's going to be dangerous as well. We got the Titans lid over wherever I'm pointing.
Right here.
That's going to be a tough team to beat right there.
Yeah, they are. I mean, coming into this game, they're only giving up 8 points per game. Excuse me. Jody, help me out here. Thank you.
Clear that throat. No,
yeah, there we go. But yeah, so eventually, Ty Dossinger, we talked about him before. He's a stud, and he definitely proved it again tonight.
We'll get this guy some water here soon. But a good ground game and a good defense, that is something that will play in any field conditions, and that is something that Minot has as well. Minot just keeps on ripping off wins. They pitched another shutout tonight. The Magi look like the real deal, and they get a big matchup with Cheyenne next week, which will kind of give us a pretty good glimpse of who that team is that might join Shanley as the top teams in Class 3A, boys.
Tough to imagine with all that rain out there that Carson's choking. Come on, there's plenty of water to spare.
Right. Yeah, well, and I have some water over here. Here you go, buddy.
Well, thank you. I need it. It's cold season's upon us.
Absolutely. Awesome. Great job, guys. Thank you so much. Carson Zark and Jody Norstead from West Fargo. Meanwhile, down here, Harrisburg bouncing back. They lost to Lincoln last week. They get a big bounce back win over Sioux Falls Roosevelt, and we heard from Brandon White afterwards.
We were able to mix the ball around everywhere offensively. Teams are going to struggle keying on certain people because of our different athletes we have in space. And when we can do that, we're going to be special. We're going to put a lot of points on the board. And then defensively, I thought we played with a different level of energy tonight, and we really rallied to the football and really got back to the basics and how we prepped this week for our defense. And to see it come to fruition like that was really cool.
Absolutely. You saw Harrisburg bounce back, and he liked the defensive effort.
I like what he said about the defense. That's what they're going to need if they want to make a deep playoff push.
And speaking of deep playoff push, that's what West Central wants. They get a big road win tonight at Canton, 32-28. We thought it'd be a ground and pound affair. A little more points scored, and we heard from the victorious Trojans afterwards.
We just needed to clean up some of our mistakes that we made in the first half, but it's always a battle. Canton. They are so well coached, and the kids are so tough. I mean, we knew we were going to be in a dogfight. We knew we had to work everything. We couldn't make mistakes like we did in the first half. So the offensive coaches did a great job of making some adjustments where we thought we could have kind of attacked them. So it came out and it worked for us. So got to give them credit for the kids doing a good job and the coaches doing a good job.
Yeah, nice job by the Trojans, especially withstanding not only the conditions but just a raucous crowd because Canton, they bring them out in Canton.
And it was homecoming for Canton. They were pumped up for this one, but I like what he said about making those adjustments and Barry Mathias, just getting officially named the head coach recently, really getting that coaching staff together and making some good moves.
And then how about 9AA Hanson, a big road win at Canastota? We heard from the Beavers afterwards.
To be able to respond the way we did, I think our guys did learn. I mean, that was a huge learning curve for us, or however you want to put it. But we learned that as long as we stay with it, we're not out of a ball game, and we have to continue to play hard, and we have to have guys that step up and make plays. And I think just the kids' ability to do that, I think they proved to themselves that they can.
And Hanson definitely proved they are going to be a contender down the stretch in 9AA as the Beavers move to 3-2. We will wrap it all up, put a bow on this when we come back on Varsity Sports Live.
Varsity Sports Live, presented by South Dakota State University. Build a better future with South Dakota State University.
We got NSIC football tomorrow. MSU Moorhead against Augustana. For Jandy and Jody and Carson, I'm Brownie. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week on VSL.